Okay, I see a lot of Colorado Blue Spruce for sale at nurseries, and every now and then someone around here in Middle Tennessee decides to plant one, and pretty much all of them end up plagued by a variety of fungal infections because Colorado Blue Spruce is not very well suited to the Middle Tennessee hot, humid climate. So let's look at a list of blue-colored conifers that you can plant and have much better success because they will grow better in Tennessee, and these are alternatives to the Colorado Blue Spruce. And I'm going to rank them in order of easiest to obtain to hardest to obtain. So first on the list here we have the blue Atlas Cedar, native to northern Africa in Morocco. And the regular one is green, but this is the blue variety you can find at Home Depot and Lowe's. They sell these in both places and they grow pretty well. Every now and then one will have a problem here in Tennessee, probably due to bad planting practices or not enough water during a drought, but in general they should be fairly drought resistant, definitely heat tolerant. They grow relatively slowly and have somewhat of an open branching pattern, but over time they become a pretty filled in, amazing looking conifer. So blue Atlas Cedar is a good substitute for Colorado Blue Spruce. Let's look at some others. Number 2 on the list, Arizona Cypress, specifically the blue ice cultivar. You can see compared to the Lijiang Cypress behind it, it's really got a bluish cast. And for all of these blue-green conifers, the blue actually comes from a whitish powder that's covering the green foliage underneath. Even for Colorado Blue Spruce, it's the same. So they're not really blue per se, they're green, but they have a whitish bloom on them, a glaucous material covering the green leaves or needles that give them a bluish cast. And Arizona Cypress grows pretty fast, somewhat harder to find at Home Depot and Lowe's. You may have to go to your local nursery to find it, but they're readily available. Definitely online if you go that route. Blue ice, Arizona Cypress. Okay, number 3 is the Vanderwolf's Pyramid. It's a pine tree, and you can see the needles have kind of white and green alternating color on them. And the net effect of that is a bluish cast to the foliage. You can see how it stands out compared to the green grass or the green loblollies behind it. Usually you can find these at Lowe's and Home Depot, or online, or local nurseries. They seem to be everywhere these days. They're not quite as blue as the first 2 we looked at, but if you want to diversify your holdings, and I strongly encourage you to do that, then throw in a Vanderwolf Pyramid for a bluish colored pine. Okay, number 4 on the list, another pine. This is the Japanese white pine, and you can get these online. Probably local nurseries will have them too. They're pretty common. There are a bunch of different varieties. This one is the glauca variety, but they pretty much all have a fairly blue tint to the needles. Bluer than the Vanderwolf Pyramid, but it's going to be harder to find larger specimens and maybe somewhat slower growing, although this one seems to be putting on a lot of new growth. You can see the new growth is green, not blue, but when the needles come out, it will be blue. So, Japanese white pine, that was number 4. Let's keep going. Number 5, the Concolor fir. This is the blue cloak cultivar, and you can see it's got a somewhat blue, pretty blue coloration. I think it's a little bit less blue now than it was after it put on new growth, but it's pretty blue, and it even looks like a blue spruce, but it's not. It's a fir. This one happens to be grafted onto an Abies firma rootstock, which is going to help with tolerance for heat and humidity. Concolor fir on its own probably would do okay in Tennessee. I think there's a big one growing in Knoxville, but having it on the Abies firma rootstock is even better. And eventually it'll probably be mistaken for a Colorado Blue Spruce by someone else. Concolor fir online. I got this one from Conifer Kingdom, but several people sell them. Okay, number 6, Burkii Redcedar. the Burkii cultivar of our native eastern red cedar has a fairly bluish cast to the foliage. Not only that, it bears fruit, blue berries, tiny little blue berries that are not on here now but will be later, and that makes the whole thing look even more blue. Other interesting thing about it, in the winter it turns purple, so you get some interesting winter color. It is harder to find though. I think quicktrees.com may be the only online outfit selling them that I've seen, and I got this one at a local nursery and just drove to get it in McMinnville, Cedarwood Nursery. But if you order it online, Quick Trees may be the best source. I haven't seen them in other local nurseries or big box stores. This would be extremely tolerant of almost any condition, so if you have maybe a difficult place you're trying to grow these, maybe it's really dry, hot, something adverse, this is going to be your most resistant out of all of these we're looking at today. In theory, it should outlive all of them in terms of survivability. So Burkii Redcedar, pretty good choice in my opinion. Doesn't quite look like a blue spruce, but more than makes up for it in resilience. Alright, we're getting into some harder to obtain conifers here. This is the blue cultivar of Chinese fir, Cunninghamia lanceolata. You're just going to have to scour the internet to find this unless you know of a local specialty nursery that happens to have it. But I have seen a mature specimen growing in Middle Tennessee, really huge. I thought it was a blue spruce, and then when I got closer I realized it was a Chinese fir. Actually didn't know what it was at the time, but now I know. So they're very blue, very big, and they look like a blue spruce. A little bit difficult to grow, probably pushing the northern boundary of what they can handle. But if you find it, probably worth a try. Okay, I think we're up to number 8 now on the list, and this is Chihuahuan Spruce from northern Mexico, Picea chihuahuana. And it doesn't look quite as blue as it did. I guess after winter maybe some of that blue material got washed off the leaves. But after it puts on new growth, it's going to have a decidedly bluish cast and seems to be very resistant to the conditions here in Tennessee, contrary to the Colorado Blue Spruce. It's extremely spiny though, which is maybe a good thing. Nothing's going to mess with this. So if you can find Chihuahuan Spruce, I say give it a try. Number 9 on the list, Deodar Cedar. There are many different types of deodar. As you can see, there's a yellow one, golden, and here's a bluish one. This is the Carl Fuchs cultivar, but there are several blue deodar cedars, including Electra Blue and Feline Blue for the little weeping one. I like the Carl Fuchs, but Electra Blue is also good. And it's a little bit less blue than it normally would be because it's just now putting out new growth, and you can see just the tips of the needles look blue now, but the whole thing will look very blue by the time it's finished budding out for the season. And they do pretty well in Tennessee. You don't usually find the blue ones at big box stores. Sometimes you find them at nurseries, but online you can find the blue cultivars of Deodar Cedar. Okay, last but definitely not least, this is actually my favorite substitute for the Colorado Blue Spruce. Kind of looks like a blue spruce from certain angles. And this one would be categorized as nearly impossible to obtain. I just got it by luck. Forest Farm happened to have it in stock, and I bought one, and I think they were out of stock the next day. So what is it? Lijiang Spruce from southern China. It tolerates heat, it tolerates humidity, it grows fast, and it looks blue-ish. Not as blue as the Colorado Blue Spruce, but what a trade-off. Slightly less blue, but way more survivable. And you can see it's loaded with buds. It's going to put on a ton of new growth. It grew quickly last year. And I can only say positive things about the Lijiang Spruce. So if by chance you find yourself in a position to buy one, I guess buy as many as you can. But watch out, because I'm going to be trying to buy it too. I'd like to get another one. But that's my list of 10 alternatives to the blue spruce. I hope you'll consider some of them, because Colorado Blue Spruce, every one that I've seen, is fairly diseased and pretty much doomed in Middle Tennessee. It's just too hot and humid.